What needs to happen with NASA? If you were, and we're getting into what happened to the nomination and everything else, but when you were nominated, you put together a list of things that has to happen.
For sure.
What were those things?
Well, I mean, even just to interview with the president, you had to come with a game plan. So this was in, I don't know, the last day or two of November, or the first day or two of December 24. And, it was pretty simple. Everything I did in the 6 months or so through, of the confirmation process was just to build it out in greater detail with what needs to happen and when, who the right people are to do it. But essentially it comes down to the same things. There needs to be some sort of a reorganization of the agency so you can kind of get back to concentrating on the real needle movers, the things that if NASA doesn't do it, no one will. Or if it is done, it'll be done by the Chinese or the Russians. Well, returning to the moon, getting to, establishing a pathway to Mars.
Wait, stop. Let's go to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it'd be our first time because we never went. I can't, those people drive me out of my mind.
Yeah.
But why is it important for us to go back to the moon?
Well, I think it comes down to, what we may learn from a scientific perspective, what economic benefit might be out there, and our general national security. Let's take like helium-3, for example. Maybe there's a 1% or less probability that could transform, energy creation here on Earth. How many wars have we fought over the last 100 years based on sources of energy? I mean, you get something wrong in space, and we have literally just dipped our toe into this and our understanding of it. It could shift the balance of power here on Earth. Like, I don't know how we could ever afford to fall behind in the ultimate high ground of space. Because if we do, we may never catch up at all. So from my perspective, you got to reorganize because you're doing lots of little things and there's a lot of bureaucracy there that's impeding progress, and concentrate on what no one else will do except maybe our geopolitical rivals. And then it's leading in the high ground of space. It's figuring out the space economy, because right now, everything we do in space is funded by taxpayers. So you're not going to have that Star Wars-like future we all imagine of rockets zipping by if every taxpayer has to contribute. We need to figure out what is the orbital economy. Is it pharmaceuticals? Is it mining? Is it energy? Is it energy-related sources? Got to figure it out. And then
what do you think it is?
Well, look, I mean, what's for sure is there is material, there's elements, metals that are up there that we know have value. Now people will talk about, the asteroid with 2 trillion worth of rare minerals in it, and that supply demand gets thrown off the moment you introduce 2 trillion into the system. But we know it's out there, so you can go out and potentially mine it and extract it. I think we really have only scratched the surface with some of the pharmaceutical work. There's good companies like Varda that's experimenting, but
what is that work?
I'm sorry?
What is that work? What are they?
They're doing like crystal formulation of medical treatment, so increasing the density of the treatment by these crystal formulations. But I think like the big concern is we don't have a good answer yet, despite having a space station up there for 20 years. The biggest accomplishment we've had is keeping people alive continuously for 20 years in the harsh environment of space, which is good. But we haven't figured out that magic wand. This treats cancer. This improves some technology for average, Americans or citizens dramatically. And part of that is the bureaucracy. To give you just an example, and this is, I talk about NASA, but this is government wide, right? The iPhone, the Russians have brought it to the space station, which they share with the Americans. The commercial astronauts who've gone to the space station have brought iPhones. NASA has yet to approve iPhones to go to the space station for their astronauts. And it's like, well, that's kind of like a petty example, but it's like, how do I know there isn't a ton of cancer treating formulas that have been waiting 8 years to get approval to go to the space station that could have a real economic benefit, in which case, it could fund this future in space we all want. Lots of space stations, for example.
Why go back to the iPhone? Why? Is that one of those things like, you got to turn your phone off as we take off because it could...
I mean, it's probably, if you're, I think culturally in this nation, and again, this is not specific to NASA, but I mean, we've become very risk averse. One of my themes is there are some risks worth taking. Exploring the worlds beyond ours is a risk worth taking. You're not going to get there if you're not accepting some risk, just as we do for our Navy pilots flying off aircraft carriers, our troops that go into different combat. We put people in higher risk environments because there's a purpose that we think is worth it. Space is certainly no different in that regard. But I remember getting a list of all the departments in NASA as I was thinking through reorganization. If you do a Control F and type the word safety, you're going to find 50 different departments. And that's not to say safety isn't important, but if you have lots of people in a position to say no rather than bubbling it up logically to a single organization, it's going to be easier to just say no. I mean, the best way to keep astronauts and pilots safe is don't fly and don't go to space.
So what happened to the nomination?
Well, I was on, I guess the 1 yard line. So I'd already cleared committee vote. There was bipartisan support. I was 2 days away from the floor vote that would have confirmed me. And I think there was a very public falling out that took place. And I became, I guess, a casualty of that.
The public falling out being?
So I think that, well, put it this way, the same day that, that Elon got the golden key to the White House and a very, public farewell was the day that I got a call that the president decided to go in a different direction.
But you two aren't connected. I mean, you know each other, but you're not really connected, are you?
No, certainly it was funny because that was what a lot of the Democrat senators were asking me throughout the confirmation process is like this conflict of interest. You and Elon go way back. I was like, wait a second, I paid him to go to space. The same as NASA does because there's no other choice in the matter. Obviously, I have a ton of respect for him and what SpaceX has done. They've sent me to space on 2 challenging missions and brought us back alive. But hey, if there were 3 companies, I bet I would have paid less. It's not like, I grew up in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. He was on the West Coast. I have no Silicon Valley connections, never had any Silicon Valley money. We've never gone out on a social dinner. It's been a professional relationship, and I have a ton of respect for him. But I made it clear during the hearing, my loyalty is to the nation and the space agency. SpaceX is an important vendor, just as, during, James Webb had important relationships with McDonnell Douglas and Boeing and others during the 1960s.